Hello again, everybody. Well, we dabbled into Sonic 2 last week, and it was pretty fun. So a new trailer just dropped, and we thought we'd give our 2 cents on that as well. Miss Monica, how do you feel about Marvel movies?
You know that I look forward to every time a new Marvel movie drops. It's kind of
Yeah.
become a tradition in our family
Mm.
that we watch the trailers together and we watch the movies together with our kids after we've done the initial
I
screening.
say I am gonna pause you real quick there because I'm gonna have to slightly disagree, if only because that's entirely true for the Infinity Gauntlet saga. You know, the first
Yes.
everything up until Endgame, there were a couple misfires in there. We can all agree on them. We know what movies we're talking about. However, by and large, fantastic. Love them, love them, love them. However, Marvel Phase 4 has been very hit or miss
It's
because
a little more debated.
yes, we could talk about Spider-Man No Way Home or oh, I mean, Doctor Strange is coming out. We'll definitely dabble into that one too. We love it, but what I'm always suddenly blanking. So Phase 4 was Black Widow, the Eternals,
Yes, which
Shang-Chi, which those three you haven't even seen.
yeah, those ones I forget. You're right.
That's
This next
more than half of Phase
I
4 you
know.
haven't even seen, and that's okay. You actually, as of right now, I can certifiably say you have more IQ points than I do because I have in one way or another seen these movies, and wow, Marvel just it went hot garbage really quick. I was actually nervous about No Way Home when we were sitting there in the theater because I'm like, this has got to be good, and luckily it was good. So I don't know. There's a lot of speculation about what's going on at Marvel Studios and all that. However, we can both agree we loved Thor Ragnarok. We actually
Yes.
just rewatched it. Taika Waititi did a fabulous job.
Yep.
So when he signed back up for the fourth one, we were all about it. However, and we won't dabble too much into this because, of course, grain of salt leaks had happened about the plot, made me very nervous. Again, not going into any of them because we're going to go into this free and clear. We watched the trailer. It wasn't bad. I'm a little nervous again, a little nervous about it. I just there's this thing that's been going on with Thor, and it's about him finding himself and yada yada yada. But that was the first movie, the second movie, the third movie, Infinity War, Endgame. But then at the end of Endgame, suddenly it was like we reset back to the first one because he's all
Yes.
like, I've led my people. I've found out that the true path of a ruler is the people, not the place. And you know what? Actually, Valkyrie, you take over. I'm gonna.
He struggles
Yeah.
with this idea of being a leader and
Yes.
being responsible
Yeah.
and regresses back into his, well, I don't know how to be a leader.
Even though the character growth up until this point was fabulous because he learned how to
Yes.
become a leader, and then for some reason in Endgame, granted he went through, obviously from the movie, I'm not gonna spoil it, but he went through. I mean, everybody's seen it. He went through a pretty dark phase that we were happy to see him climb out of by the
Yep.
end, and it should have been, it shouldn't have been. I'm gonna go find myself because you already did,
Well,
bro. You just got to remember who you are. That was the entire point of the hammer coming back to him and him saying, "I'm still worthy." In my
see,
mind,
but
at
I
least.
think I think in his mind he realized that he didn't want to be the political
Mm,
leader of his
okay.
people. And his people coming to the new Asgard and
Sure.
setting up essentially their own nation, it really speaks to the fact that Thor is a conqueror, he's a warrior, he's a
Yep.
general. He's not the type of person to sit in an office. And when you put
No.
him in that position, it makes him very uncomfortable.
Yes. Yes. Oddly enough, we're gonna hop to key sequences here to avoid certain copyright potential issues. We did watch the trailer. I recommend you watching it for yourself, but we just got certain parts paused here from the trailer that we wanted to discuss. The first one at the 10-second mark. I mean, granted, this is probably I'm just gonna say right off the bat, I speculate that 90% of this trailer is like the first maybe 20 minutes, half hour of this movie. Like, I don't think
Really?
they're get well. Think about it. We didn't see any antagonist. We don't actually know what is happening as far as the plot. I mean, think about that first Thor Ragnarok trailer. It literally threw all this different stuff at us. You saw a quick shot of Heimdall with the sword in the woods. You saw Jeff Goldblum. You saw Hela. You saw all these things happening, and you were just like, well, how does this make sense? But then you saw it, and it went, okay, it was perfect. Taika Waititi's kind of doing the same thing here with this one, throwing a bunch of different things at us. I would speculate this is around the beginning. Like I said, the entire thing is around the beginning of the movie, and this is maybe, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, so this, having it be the first 10 seconds of the movie, and you see him...
Or the trailer, not the movie.
Or, sorry, trailer. You see him taking Stormbreaker and essentially planting it.
Yep.
Which...
Looks like a grave, doesn't it?
It does.
I'm getting Logan flashbacks. Like, remember when she planted the at the end of Logan, she planted his grave and then turned it into an X?
Yes.
It kind of looks like he's planting a grave.
Okay, I can kind of see that, but why would they have him giving up Stormbreaker at the beginning of the... I think that this will, if anything, this will be the very end.
You think this will basically be how it ends? Like, he turns into a just complete Tibetan monk and says, I will be a warrior no more. Perhaps because of someone else who, of course, we'll get to here shortly.
Well, or he goes back to the idea that he doesn't necessarily need Stormbreaker, and it gets left behind at somebody's grave who is deserving of it.
True. And I mean, we see...
Potentially Valkyrie.
Potentially. That's fair, although... okay, well, no, I'm going to save that thought until we get to a certain scene. Next up, this 29-second mark. It was pretty funny here. Obviously, this is still, like I said, this is the beginning of the movie. He's still part of the Asgardians of the galaxy. And just in classic Thor fashion, he's lost the gut. He's gotten himself under control. And then we see what it looks like they're prepping for a battle. And he just literally throws the jacket off. And Star-Lord rolls his eyes because this is Thor. This is who Thor is right here. Yes. So if they do take him in some kind of deconstructive path, I hope Taika Waititi comes through again and does it well, because otherwise, this is who we want to see.
Well, this is his moment of... Thor's character is... He's a god.
Exactly.
And like we've discussed before, in Marvel, it's more regular people taking up the mantle of justice.
Yes. To recap what she's talking about is, and we've had this discussion before, DC is basically about gods trying to live among and become human, whereas Marvel is more humans who come about godly powers.
Yes.
And how do they handle it because they're flawed.
Yes. And Thor, I mean... He's a god.
He is.
Especially when he's on Earth. He's viewed as a god. He has godlike powers. He travels between worlds. His dad basically conquered the 9 realms.
Yep.
I mean, he's the god of thunder.
And of course, we saw him in Infinity War. He also, because of Stormbreaker, has access to the Bifrost. So he's really can do whatever he wants. And I hopped to this scene right here.
So he doesn't have to travel with the Guardians.
Exactly. That's just it. The Guardians... he and Star-Lord, it happens later on in the trailer. There's clearly a disagreement between the two, which we saw in Endgame. Mm-hmm. They're going to go their separate ways. He seems happy about it, and we even get that quick glimpse of the Guardians being like, peace out, brother, peace out. And that's okay. I mean, the one thing that I've heard people complaining about, and I'm not there yet, it's crossover fatigue. Like, apparently people are upset that we're seeing these heroes bounce in and out, but to me, that's Marvel. That's literally the point.
Yeah, I mean, and it's an interconnected world. It gives you a sense that the world is larger than just this one character story arc.
Yeah, and here we have it right here, what she was talking about. I mean, he literally is wielding at just minimal effort. Just wielding Bifrost. Yep, here we go.
Maximum effort here.
Maximum effort. This is the same thing that almost destroyed Jotunheim because it was focused too hard on it. So
yes,
this is a very powerful force that he's just casually like, what's up? Got my Bifrost and I'm just on my way. And here, of course, you see him in more traditional garb. So, I mean, that's why I really am speculating that this is mostly just all from the first half hour of the movie, almost like Endgame trailer, where we saw very little of anything outside of that first 20 minutes. And it was, I mean, that's the way it should be. I like that Taika Waititi is giving us all this stuff, and we honestly have no idea how to assemble it. We can only speculate.
I do like that, but a part of me wonders if he doesn't travel with the Guardians for the first part of the movie. Mm-hmm. And then in the trailer, there's a scene where Quill's standing in front of him, and he says, all you need to do is look into the eyes of the people you love.
Yep.
Well, don't you think that would kind of click with Thor that while he's with the Guardians, he's not one of the Guardians.
Well, I do think it does, because I honestly, looking at the sequencing of the scenes, that scene clearly comes right before the Guardians pile up and take off like we just saw him. So I think that is probably that final scene of either Quill telling him or him telling Quill, we're going our separate ways, and they're like, okay. And then they fly off into their warp point.
But then it's like, well, where does Thor go from there? Well, back to his people.
Well, potentially back to his people. We have new people to check out.
Because even when his dad was in charge, he would come back to his people.
Oh, no, I understand that. His people are on Earth, and we know we're going to see New Asgard, but we also know we're going to see new people. Now, I immediately recognize this character. It's... Well, originally you had asked me, well, was that like Odin from a flashback?
Yeah, I had, because this, I mean, it is like a blink and you miss it moment.
You see the lightning bolts fly around, and then he catches one of them, and then you see him turn, and you can't even see his face. But because of casting news and all that, and following development of this, that's Russell Crowe playing Zeus.
Which I love me some Russell Crowe.
I don't know. I love me some classic Russell Crowe. Lately, he's been a little hit and miss, but hey, this is him potentially returning to glory, and I don't know. It looks like they're really hamming it up, which is fine. You know, you got to do it right.
Well, I mean, he's the man. He's got the women on the pillars. He's got, like, it looks like the whole gladiator setup going on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's basically, it's the logic is you look at Asgard and how fantastical it was. And obviously you go to other gods, and their realms will be equally as fantastical and representative of kind of how our culture sees them. I mean,
well, it's like the Frost Giants. They at one point had this amazing world set up with castles and all of the things that go with it, and that's why they turned into such a warrior nation and started going out and conquering some of the other realms. Yeah. And then it's just weird to me to think that you've got the Greek gods and the Roman gods and all of these interactions that you would think they would all converge into one.
Oh, no way. I like the idea that they're exploring. I mean, then that opens up everything. We could bring in Egyptian gods. We could bring in whatever. It really, something like that is one of those rare times where instead of like shrinking the universe, it expands it. And I'm all about that.
It validates every perspective and says, yes, you were all right, but we all exist.
Yes, exactly. We're all somewhat right. We're all out there doing our own thing, and well, now we'll get to see exactly what that means. And I won't, since I said we haven't seen it, I'm not going to talk about the other person that was cast in this as the antagonist because it hasn't been shown yet, and I'm not going to spoil anything. But that's another reason why I speculate that this isn't anything outside of like the first half hour of the movie. In his limited time with the Guardians of the Galaxy before they go their separate way, and then we get the true plot. Of course, not everybody's having a good time.
No.
Oh, poor Valkyrie. I don't think she realized what she was getting into, because the only shot of her we see is basically, what'd you call her? President Valkyrie? Looking,
she
looking
is
so enthused.
Not looking happy about her new position. Mm-hmm. And granted, why would she? It's the same reason that Thor fell into that mentality of, forget about it, I'm done. Yeah. They both thought that's what they wanted at one point.
Yeah, they both thought they wanted to be leaders, but unfortunately, you don't. And we saw this in the first Thor when Odin, lost his temper with Thor and banished him out. He basically, he realized this dude was impulsive. He wanted action. He wanted to be the spectacular leader. And so he told him, I was wrong to think you were ready. You're not ready. Yep. You have to be patient. You have to be benevolent. War is not the answer. That kind of logic is what got Hela banished. And so, of course, Valkyrie probably thought that this would be a much different world for her and her warrior ways. You know what? We're just going to, here's the part with Quill.
At this point, she's probably just thinking, man, I wish I would have stayed on, what is it? The Grandmaster's.
I don't think it had a name. No, it did.
It did.
I'm trying to think of the intro where it plays
Ragnarok.
the Willy Wonka music.
Yeah.
What was it? Oh, man. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm talking about.
And she would have just stayed there and been drunk all day.
Well, I mean, I think she enjoyed her position up until this point, but now we're no longer in a time of war, and what does a warrior do beyond a time of war? But I'm going to bring up, this is, of course, the most controversial aspect of the entire trailer. And honestly, I'll agree that it has me the most nervous. We get our shot of Natalie Portman, a.k.a. Jane Foster, as Lady Thor, wielding what appears to be a reconstructed Mjolnir. Now, first things first, when Captain America in Endgame lifted that hammer, the entire theater collectively lost their minds. I can still hear the gasps. I can still feel the chills. It was a big deal when Cap raised that hammer.
Well, yeah.
And now it's like, the first thing we see in the next movie is, oh, look, someone else has got the hammer.
Well, so we saw Hela handle it and break it apart.
Yes, but Hela was its original owner.
Well, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
it just goes to show you that this weapon can be used.
I was going to say,
for
to be fair, she didn't wield it. She just stopped it and destroyed it, because we don't know how this will work out, but remember, Odin put I'll call it a curse, but there's a better word, on the hammer that said,
yes,
if he be worthy, shall have the power of Thor. All she did was destroy it midair. This is literally not only wielding it, but clearly has the power of Thor. Now, if you've read the comics, if they follow the comic line, it made sense. Jane Foster was, I believe, dying of cancer. And so Thor gave her Mjolnir, which gave her his power. But without his power, she was basically sickly on the brink of death. Kind of like Deadpool. Actually, now that I say that out loud, it was very much like Deadpool.
Well, and so what, because, and we might have to rewatch some of the other movies for me to really follow this thought. So she had the dark elves,
she had you're talking about the reality stone?
Yes.
Yes. There was a name for it, but it doesn't matter. It was the reality stone.
Basically the ooze or whatever inside of her. And then it was removed.
It was extracted.
In the comics, is that along the same lines? Oh, dude,
no. In that case, I have no idea.
Okay. I was going to say, because did that, cause some type of cancer that caused her
I don't know the origin of it. It was a newer comic run. I just looked over the basics about why this character came to be to see if there was enough of a foundation to be like, okay, I can see it. Because when I first heard the rumor about not only was she coming back, but she would be wielding Mjolnir as Lady Thor, I'm not going to lie, I felt like a lot of fans have felt lately, and that's, okay, so we're just going full MCU. Just full on. Now we are literally replacing every male lead who we've all come to grow and love with someone else that potentially fits an agenda. And I'm not saying that is always the case, but if you look at the Marvel series and everything in Phase 4, they're kind of doing that. They've kind of replaced all of our key players with somebody who fits checkboxes.
See, and I'm really hoping that this isn't a checkbox.
I agree.
And
100%.
It might just be a reach for a redemption, because how awful Captain Marvel ended up being for that female demographic. Because the character was not well developed.
So you're saying we need a better female hero.
We do. We need a better female hero, because there is a demographic asking for it.
True. I mean,
just because she's female doesn't make her less of a hero, as long as they do her character arc justice.
That's what it's all about.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And we know this character. Yes. And we've actually learned to fall in love with her character, and the fact that during...
Fall in love with her? You fell in love with this character?
I did. I really liked the way that they played off each other and how kind of awkward and nerdy she was.
I was going to say, you realize she hasn't been in a Marvel movie since 2013, right?
Well, I understand that.
Not counting an Endgame cameo.
When she was in them.
Yes.
We got to know her character. We got to enjoy her character for who she was. She was a person who fell in love with a god.
Essentially, yeah.
And she knew that he had to leave, and there's a whole love story behind it. So
yeah, it's a little sappy.
Well, but it does hit the demographic of...
That's fair.
For most women. She's a person who has her own backstory. She was studying the stars and had all these great ideas.
Yeah.
And she had passion behind it. And so already going into this, even though she hasn't been in a Marvel movie in 9 years,
True.
She has more of a backstory to her than Captain Marvel did.
Oh, well, of course. Captain Marvel was garbage. No one's saying that. However, what angle are they going to play here that Mjolnir, which was absolutely destroyed and obliterated, has not only been reforged, but has given her Thor's powers? The fact that it took Cap all those movies, up until literally the last movie in the saga, I guess we got a hint in Age of Ultron, but to become worthy enough to wield that hammer and wield Thor's powers.
Well, and it wasn't necessarily about. See, that's where I think you and I differ on our views.
Oh, yeah?
I feel like Cap always had that ability.
Oh, he just didn't believe in it, or
No, he didn't want to. He didn't want to step into that role because Cap's not about that.
That's fair.
He didn't want to be a super soldier. They asked him to be a super soldier because of his qualities and his ability
You're
to
right.
take.
That's his character. No,
It
you're
is.
right.
And that's why I love Captain America. He's always been one of my favorites. Is because he could take over.
True.
But he doesn't believe that seizing power is what he needs to do to be a good person.
That is a good point. But what's your opinion on this?
Well, if anybody knows anything about the legends and Mjolnir and all that, it's her. She's been to Asgard.
Well, yeah.
You know, she got to meet his mom. There's a lot of stuff that we don't necessarily know about her character and what she's learned.
Sure.
So, if somebody could put the hammer back together, who would it be? It would be somebody.
The dwarf. The giant Peter Dinklage dwarf. I believe that's who it was.
And maybe that's who it is.
Just called him up.
Peter Dinklage dwarf.
Just called up. Book up Peter Dinklage. Can you put this together for me, please?
And who knows? Maybe they'll tie that in.
I mean, I would imagine they'd have to, but even from the clip itself, it seems like Thor is stunned to not only see Mjolnir, but to see essentially Lady Thor. I don't know. I am. If you look into I'm very nervous. Taika Waititi has said some things about mythology and all that has made me very concerned. He seems like he's coming from a direction of potential, scary as it is, potentially woke, and I just hope they do it well. We have no reason to doubt that he will, aside from, like I said, things he said, statements he's made, and the general direction of Phase 4. But all in all, it was all right. I'm not. I'm nowhere near as hyped as I thought I'd be when I first said, "Hey, there's a new Thor trailer."
See, I was super hyped. The music, the reference to the Guardians. The Guardians have always been.
That's true. I do love seeing
kind
the
of a very
Guardians.
lighthearted.
Everyone loves the Guardians.
Yes,
Definitely my top 3.
And as much as I don't want to support Disney, I will support Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
I know it's hard to.
That's fair.
To fall in line with one and not the other, you have to kind of separate.
I know. We'll have to see exactly what happens with that, but well, there we are. So, I mean, by all means, make your own. Make your own call here. The hype isn't really getting me, but I love Thor, and I won't probably be watching any other trailers. I like just this amount of knowledge. Like, some things are going to happen. I don't know what, but characters will be there we like, and then something might happen at the end. But other than that, that's all the information I want until the movie comes out.
I'm hoping that Valkyrie asked her to put the hammer back together, and when she did, is when she
discovered its power, and I guess. But again, that's two things they've done with the mythology of their own series is. They undid it for the purposes of what exactly? Passing the torch?
Well, no, they undid it because he needed to learn that his power didn't come from the hammer.
I meant they undid that lesson. Like, Mjolnir is now back together, but being wielded by someone else.
Because it's no longer his.
Okay.
And he doesn't need it.
He doesn't need it. That's true.
He's grown past it, so someone else might need to take up that mantle.
Fair enough. I guess we will wait and see. So, anything else you want to add before we call it a day?
No, I think that's it. I mean, I'm just really excited to see this and do some more entertainment news, some movie trailers.
Absolutely.
And I'm looking forward to see what's come out this year.
Absolutely. So, we will see everybody later, I suppose.